paint me a picture of what this, return to business looks like. Good morning to you. What's it like on the ground in China? I mean, how quickly and how much is traffic coming back to normal in your stores?
So before we go to China, let me just spend 1 second on last year. 6% growth on the top line, 15 on the bottom line, 34% online, 15 in China, and the highest margin in the history of our company. So we're extremely well founded company at this stage, just closing the best year in the history of our company. What we are seeing is, as we indicated, we did see in February the business was down about 85%, which means that we're seeing in China decline in this quarter, including takebacks, around $1 billion. Of course, we are growing in the other regions. We are seeing a slight return into the stores. We're seeing more stores open. We're seeing a slight increase in traffic. But of course, we are at the end of the food chain. If you've been sitting 2 weeks in an apartment, your first thought is not to buy a pair of sneakers. It is to restore your fridge. And that's why the recovery for the sporting goods business will take a bit longer. But the fundamentals are unchanged at this stage. But we are seeing slow China, and that will, of course, last for a while.
Something that is changing very quickly, though, Kasper, good morning to you, is the rate of spread of the infections across Europe and the extent of the clampdown on life as normal across Europe, as we see in Italy. What are you assuming now? What are you modelling for the European side of your business at this point in 2020?
So first of all, we don't need any money. We have no debt. So for us, it doesn't really have an impact. I think that, with the price of money going down, I think that probably will stabilize the markets and eventually the consumer. We are seeing, of course, a very slow Italy for that reason, and we are seeing a slower consumer traffic than normal. But we're not seeing at this stage any significant impact on a European level. In Italy, we are. So if you look upon it, we assume that this is going to take a while before we get through the crisis. But the reverse, coming back to the normal behavior and the normal patterns in the sporting goods industry will eventually come back. And that's why, we, of course, deal with the short term, but strategically nothing in the long term in the sporting goods industry has really changed, despite the virus.
Kasper, you seem unusually sanguine for someone who's selling goods, sporting goods. We're talking about teams playing games to empty stadiums. We're talking about nobody being allowed to fly in and out of Italy, which is arguably the most important soccer country in Europe. We're talking about, New York City that's going to be cut off from suburbs. I mean, thousands and thousands of people are already sick at the very beginning of this outbreak. I mean, aren't you worried for 2020?
So I think, this is extremely important to understand where we are. Of course, we're concerned about the demand picture in 2020 and potentially, a year following. But we also know from the past that viruses will pass. My company is not going to get any better if I run around being in panic. So what we do is we make sure that we take the long-term decisions, sign the right contracts with the athletes, unchanged to what we do, and develop products for the future. What the near term is bringing us, we can't really control, and we got to operate within that picture. And that's where having a strong balance sheet, cash in the bank, and understanding that we have one of the best brands in the world, gives us the confidence that there might be pain in the short term, but frankly, there could be gain in the long term because we will relatively suffer much less than most other brands because of our global dominant position.
Okay, keeping your head and focusing on the balance sheet strength. Kasper, what is your response, though, to the suggestion that various sporting events could be cancelled? How damaging can that be for a business like yours?
No, of course it does have an impact, but I just have to put it into context. People will still be watching sport. People will still be buying sporting products. When the events are canceled, it does have an impact. So it is an acceleration of the situation. Is it detrimental to our business? Not at all. It's a nuisance, but it's not a strategic, I would say, setback for our company. And eventually the sporting goods, sporting events will start coming up again, and that's why we have to get through the slump. And I think that's where it's important to react to what you can control and be very transparent to the market of what the impact is, but also, be very clear on that the overall fundamentals in sporting goods and leisure doesn't change with or without participants in stadium for, a temporary period of time.